What go down with the Major fam today? It's Major, and today's topic is Anthony Fantano controversy explained. Now, Anthony Fantano, I've been seeing a lot about him on my timeline recently. I grew up on Anthony Fantano, so I was watching him when it came to music reviews, Sean C. and people like that. I was rocking with them when I was looking at music reviews and everything. And a lot of people hold Anthony Fantano's music reviews as law, literally. Like, whatever Anthony say, they going with it. Like they know whatever rating he gonna give based off of whatever flannel he wear, all types of things. I'm locked in, but I ain't gonna talk out here. We gonna get into it. I don't know what the controversy is. Hope it's not too bad, but we gonna get into it together. Y'all make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell only if you'd like to see more of me. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it.
Now, Anthony Fantano is currently going through one of the biggest controversies of his career, and it's been going viral on social media for the last 48 hours. People are talking, sharing their opinions, and it seems like everyone has something to say about it. I'm sure most people are familiar with Anthony Fantano, the man behind the needle drop, who's famous for his music reviews. The other day, he started trending for something very controversial. The first clip that went viral was an old video of Fantano. I believe it might have been from one of his older channels, where he was describing a situation and he said the N-word with the ER.
Who infamously called Ian a nigger faggot, and now he just kind of quotes that to death.
Now this went viral.
Yeah, that'll do it. That N word, that's a very controversial word, and especially being used by a white man. That's a very controversial word. So I can understand why a lot of people are mad, especially when he's reviewing hip hop songs and, albums and things like that, which are black stories, and they come from black artists. So I can understand why I can understand why a lot of people would be mad at this, because it's like, bro, you review these hip hop stories and things like that, and you don't know no better not to say that word. Like, even if it was in the past, like, you still don't know no better, bro. Like what's going on? Like, we need an explanation. Like, come on, man. And so I can understand why a lot of people are mad, because we all know, like, hip hop, it's a big space for the black community. It's a very black space. It's a black space. It's big in the black community and things like that. Like, I grew up on hip hop and things like that, but that N word is very controversial when it's used by any other race outside of black people. So, especially on the internet, the internet gonna go crazy about a lot of things, because it's just everybody's opinions online. Like, it's different people from different backgrounds and everything giving a opinion on something. So shoot, the internet gonna go crazy with whatever they find serious or controversial, and Anthony just so happened to be part of this. So we gonna hear what he gotta say, but that'll do it. That'll definitely take you out, and I can understand why a lot of people would be mad at him. Can I blame him? No. He said that, but let's see what he gotta say.
For obvious reasons. Fantano is a white man in the hip-hop media space who's already gotten criticized for things similar to this particular story. We're going to get into that later on, but this clip ended up blowing up, which eventually he gave a response to.
This clip right here, which has just been going absolutely viral, and here's my explanation for it. Early on in my YouTube career, I had some pretty lax views when it came to quoting the language of others, and my point of view was, what does it matter? It's not me saying it.
Now, Fantano's defense.
Yeah, I know. I understand that, Anthony. Like, that video, I understand that, because, like, back then, like, when I was growing up in school and everything, and when I was in my history class and they would have to read the N-word in the book, some of my teachers would read it, especially when I was younger. Like, this was like early 2000s and things like that, when I was in elementary, and they was teaching us about the history and things like that. When I was like 5th grade or so, and they was teaching us about the history, they would say that word, and they would be like, it's in the book, I have to say it so y'all know the word, so history doesn't repeat itself, yada yada yada. They'll give us that whole little speech, things like that, right? But as far as for Anthony, like, I don't know, he's in hip hop. He should know, like, that word is a big no-no, especially from any other race that's not black in the hip hop community. It's a real big no-no. So I don't know why he didn't know that. I don't know how old that video was, but You know, if he reviewing something in a black space, you know, at least he should know about what he's reviewing. So I'm pretty sure that's why a lot of people was mad because they like, bro, like, how you know all these songs and all these lyrics and things, but you don't know like you're not supposed to say that word. Like, come on, man. And I'm pretty sure that's how a lot of people feel.
Explained that early on in his YouTube career, he was very relaxed about quoting people and using things that have certain words in them. From his perspective, he didn't see it as a big deal at the time. He was just comfortable using words like the N-word when describing a situation or quoting other people in relation to the content. But of course, looking back now, it's clear that that approach doesn't sit
Yeah.
well with a lot of people, especially in today's climate. The other clip that surfaced
sure.
was from a live stream where Fantano was with a few people. I don't really recognize any of them. One of the guys was reading a comment from a viewer and it mentioned Trayvon Martin's name. Now, if you're unfamiliar, Trayvon Martin was the young black teenager in Florida who tragically lost his life after he got killed by George Zimmerman back in 2012. So as this guy in the stream reads the comment, this is where things took a turn, and this is what happened.
Vegan invited me to an event
vegan
that
invited
taught
me to an
me
event
about
that taught me
PETA's,
about PETA's
buying guide slash neoliberal whiteness and Trayvon Martin. Okay.
Wait, what?
Dude, fucking Trayvon. No, I was thinking
Trayvon Martin.
It's all these fucking black names, dude. I get confused.
So as you could hear, Fantano was in the stream. He chuckled at the comment, and then when the guy started making some remarks about black people's names later on in the stream. Additionally, there was another post that went viral connected to.
Yeah, that's not good. That I feel like this clip right here is really what nailed him in the coffin. Cause like with the other one, he could have kind of got away with it, cause you know he explained himself and things like that, and you know like the explanation it was kind of valid. You know, I would have been like, okay, you know, like let him slide. I understand he was just saying what somebody else was saying. You know, it was a different time then. You know, it's a different time now. So, you know, people gonna have things to say about what people said in the past, and that just so happened to come up, and he had to explain himself. He could have possibly got away with that, but this right here, oh yeah, this nailed him in the coffin. This nailed him in the coffin right there. Like, bro, like being in a black space, and you know you not black, and you know you around somebody like this who just, you know, he's saying some racial stuff, especially against black people and things like that. Like, come on, that's not a good look on your name. It don't make you look good at all. Like people already dislike you because, you know, you reviewing black people topics and they like, oh, you know, they already have a problem with that. We already know how it goes when another race tries to get into something. We already know how a lot of people view it. And so for like these clips and things that come up, it's like you kind of just proving them right, and like they just got more reason to, like, they hate for you is kind of solidified because they seeing these clips and they like, oh yeah, you know, I knew I was right all along. I knew I didn't like Anthony Fantano. Man, it's not looking good, Anthony. It ain't looking good.
This whole situation, which was a screenshot of what seems to be a post from Anthony Fantano himself on Facebook. It showed a meme of a person face down on the ground with the caption Trayvoning.
Yeah,
The
for
caption
sure.
supposedly read, "I laughed at this for 30 minutes." Now this post is apparently from March 2013, but personally I'm not convinced if it's real.
Yeah.
The screenshot doesn't really look all that authentic, and with how prominent AI generated content is today, this could have easily been faked. Now, a lot of people
True.
have came out and spoke out against Fantano since this went down. One of them was DJ Academics, who posted this tweet in response to Fantano's apology. "You racist, just apologize. How you deflecting mentioning me rather than taking accountability. You racist, typical colonizer." So obviously Academics wasn't holding back, to say the least. And then we have Drake, who surprisingly, or maybe not so surprisingly, posted a screenshot of Fantano's face with laughing, crying emoji.
Yeah, I seen this. I didn't. At the time, I didn't know why Drake was posting Anthony Fantano. I'm like, why he posting it? Like, what's going on? And you know, with all of this coming out now, it's like, damn, it ain't good for Anthony Fantano.
And I'm sure some of y'all might remember that these two had a little back and forth a couple years ago, and that story went viral all over social media back then. Also, producer Alchemist jumped in with a tweet saying, "Anyone surprised about the needle drop? Question mark." So I want to go over this story and give you guys my honest take and breakdown of the situation, starting with Fantano's past. Because like a lot of y'all know, he's actually been involved in something similar before, back in 2017. In October 2017, an article by a journalist, was posted on The Fader, accused Fantano of promoting alt-right sentiments in videos on his That Is the Plan channel. The article criticized Fantano for using Pepe the Frog memes, which had recently been branded as alt-right symbols, and for making comments targeting feminists. After the article dropped, multiple scheduled dates for the Needle Drop's US tour were canceled, and at least one ticketing site for a Brooklyn date even stated that the cancellation was a direct result of the Fader article. Now, Fantano didn't just sit back and let this slide. He responded with a video calling the article a hit job, claiming that the videos in question were satirical, and eventually the Fader deleted the article in 2018, with both sides stating that the matter was settled. But even after the article was pulled, the damage was done. Fantano later acknowledged that some of his That Is the Plan channel fan base was problematic, and then after that he became more vocal in advocating for social justice issues. Now, this entire situation put a major negative spotlight on Fantano's name and reputation. We're talking about someone who's not black, covering hip-hop artists and rappers, with a past that even potentially links him to some racially charged issues. Now, for this particular situation, starting with the first clip of Fantano saying the N-word with the ER at the end, here's where I stand on this. For this particular clip, I don't actually think it's a big deal because he was describing a situation or something someone else.
Yeah, me too. Like, I can understand why some people be mad at it, but, like, he was describing a situation. Should he have not? Well, we gotta remember, this was a different time as well. Like, nobody really cared for real. Like, I don't know. Like, it's different now. So, of course, we gonna have things to say, like, on the past, because some of the things that we did in the past is for sure not acceptable now. Like, nobody would really get on you about something like that back then, unless, like, they knew you in person. Like, if you got into something over the internet, like, it had to be something for real. So nobody was gonna really get on him over the internet. Maybe in real life, maybe, but with this situation, like, I wasn't too mad at him about it because he was explaining it, and then his explanation, it kind of helped him get away. But that Trayvon Martin laughing at that and all that, like, come on now. Yeah, that was the nail in the coffin. That was it.
That where they use that word, and for me, if you're asking me, right, him using it in that context isn't something I'd fault him for. This is a non-conventional perspective, especially coming from someone who's black. But my personal stance on this has always been, if a person uses that word to describe or give context to something, I don't see it as something worth calling them out for. Why? Because at the end of the day, that is a word. Yes, it has a disgusting history behind it, and I especially despise when people try to weaponize it, but words exist for a reason, and if something needs to be explained, sometimes using that word in context is necessary to communicate the full picture. It's not about endorsing the harmful legacy of that word. It is a disgusting word, right? But it's about using language to articulate a point or describe a situation accurately. And this is why I've personally never felt any negative feelings towards, let's say, a white person at a rap concert who uses that word, in this case, the NIGGA word, as they're rapping along to the song. I've always looked at it as a part of the world the art is built around. But of course, there's a lot of artists, like maybe, Kendrick Lamar would be a good example, who probably would not agree with that perspective. I'm sure you guys remember that clip from years ago where that white girl was on stage rapping along, and,
he spoke about this on Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, but yeah, it is some people, like, that think like that, like, I'm kind of in between, like, I don't know. Because, like, it was a time where, like, I get it. You got to tell your story. And so you saying the N-word because that is part of your story. Like, that's how you grew up talking. And the way you grew up talking is part of you, which is, overall, it comes to telling your story and everything. But it's other people listening. It's other races and people from different backgrounds listening. That's why I don't even be saying the N-word on this channel. I don't want nobody mimicking me saying that word. Like, bro, I just don't want nobody mimicking me out in public, because, shoot, you might get in trouble. You might run across the wrong person, say something I said in this video, and you run across the wrong person and say that to them, and shoot, they might have a problem with it. So that's why I don't be saying the N word or any of that on my channel. So yeah, as far as when it comes to something like this, like I'm in between. I don't, you know, I don't know.
He said the word, and then this is what happened.
Bro, you have to work.
You gotta bleep one single word
No.
though.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I do it?
Yeah, you did it.
I'm so sorry. Oh my god.
Who knows, maybe Kendrick has changed his stance since then. I don't really know. But for Fantano, obviously we're talking about the ER version of the word, which has a more loaded and harmful history, but even then, it's important to consider intent and context. And personally, I'm very big on intent, tone, and context. That's what separates a
Nah,
word
for
being
sure.
used to explain something versus it being used with malice or to harm someone. It's not about being rigid with rules, it's about understanding the why behind the word is being used in the first place. And then when it comes to the live stream clip, this is what you would call guilty by association. In this particular clip,
Yeah.
the people Fantano was with,
See, I was just saying that, like, as a for Anthony Fantano's situation, he's white. So him being around somebody else who's saying some racial stuff, and Anthony Fantano being a white man in a black space, which would be reviewing hip hop and things like that, bruh, this does not look good. Like, this does not look good. He probably hit, even if it was one of them little awkward chuckles and things like that, it didn't look good for him because he's just guilty by association. It's like if I'm out there hanging out with, if I'm hanging out with some thugs on the corner, I ain't no thug or nothing, but, you know, my friend is a thug and I'm out there on the corner with some thugs, which would be them, you know, people gonna look at me as a thug. It just is what it is. That just is what it is. Like, and that's how Anthony got caught up right here.
said some truly distasteful
I ain't gonna lie. If I was in Anthony's shoes, I would have left. As soon as he said that, I would have left. I would have said, "Oh yeah, my internet got disconnected."
things about Trayvon Martin, a black teen who was killed by another man. Sadly, the death of Trayvon Martin and many other racially charged deaths have been exploited to fuel division and hate rather than being treated with the human dignity they deserve. People have been very
For sure.
divided on that particular case, but at the end of the day, unless you're evil, you can't really say that young man deserved to die. When someone jokes about a tragedy like Trayvon Martin's death, it crosses a line. And even if you don't actively participate, being around that kind of energy reflects poorly on you as a person and your character. It signals a lack of empathy, or at the very least, an indifference to the seriousness of the situation. So the clip from the stream to me is way more concerning than anything else. Who you surround yourself with and what they say ultimately reflects your behavior in most cases. And I don't
For
know
sure.
why Fantano decided to chuckle. He didn't verbally co-sign what was said, so I can't hold him accountable for something he didn't explicitly say out loud. But in a moment like that, it signals something he might have felt, something that leans more towards insensitivity, if anything. When I think about Trayvon Martin, what stands out to me isn't just that, me and him had the same skin tone. What I think about is how a young man lost his life, and for me, it's more about the human aspect of that young man losing his life. And in that moment, Fantano's reaction shows a lack of sensitivity to that. I think for Fantano, this all ties back to his past, especially with the Fader article. To be fair, a lot of things he's taken accountability for whenever he is in the wrong, both now and in the past, and I respect the fact that he hasn't shied away from addressing things. In a lot of cases, people either play the victim to gain sympathy or simply avoid dealing with the issue. But for Fantano, he's faced these controversies head on, which is something I can appreciate and respect him for. Aside from that, we also have the screenshot, which honestly I can't hold him accountable for, because if you ask me, I don't think it's real. Correct me if I'm wrong though. Now the last thing was that compilation that went viral. Some of y'all might have seen it. It was essentially an 8-minute video on Twitter that featured Fantano saying the N-word, the F-word, and the R-word,
8 minutes?
all cut together. Some of these were him saying it out loud, but the majority were him explaining situations that had happened. Yes, with a tone that was definitely questionable. However, there was some type of context behind it, and I think that's important. So that's the Anthony Fantano controversy explained. What do you guys think about this topic? Really curious to.
Man, me personally, like Black Speaky said right here, was it a video? Yeah, the first video, like, I can understand why people are mad at that, why they are mad at what he said, because, he said the N-word. It's just a controversial word all in itself. It's just like how if you say any other controversial word, it's gonna go crazy, especially during these times right now. Like, bro, it's gonna go crazy. Don't matter if you explaining the situation or what, because nobody, like, if you're not black, Like, I would just skip over that word, bleep that word. Like, just don't even say it. You know, because, you know, you don't want something like this to happen. But in that second video, joking on, you know, a teenager's life and a black teenager's life at that, and, you know, you in a black space. Well, he didn't joke on it, but he laughed at it, you know, and you in a black space, you know, that was the nail in the coffin. He was guilty by association. He was there. It don't matter what type of chuckle it was. He was there. You know, I'm not sure how he gonna take accountability for that, or if he will take accountability for that. But you know that's not a good look on him. So, hey man, it's not looking too good for Anthony Fantano. You know, this may be the downfall right here. You know, they tried to pack him up in 2017, but this right here in 2025, this might be the actual downfall. But y'all let me know what y'all think down below in the comments. You know, go ahead, like, and you know, hit that subscription. Hit that subscription button, and you know, hit the notification bell if you would like to see more of me shoot. I got tongue twisted up right here. I'm a little tired, man. Forgive me. But with that being said and done, it's Major, and I'm gone.